This narrated tour includes photos and videos that outline the progress made in developing today's Air Force. It features 26 piloted experimental and prototype aircraft, 10 remotely piloted aircraft and 2 missiles. Bell's X-1B was one of a series of rocket-powered experimental airplanes designed to investigate supersonic flight challenges. Its flight research primarily related to aerodynamic heating and the use of small reaction rockets for directional control. Douglas's twin turbojet X-3 was designed to test sustained flight at twice the speed of sound. It also explored the use of very short wings and titanium airframe construction. The Northrop X-4 program was designed to determine if a semi-tailless aircraft could perform at near supersonic speeds better than conventional aircraft. Instability at high speed led to the conclusion that semi-tailless aircraft were not suitable for transonic flight with technology available at the time. Bell's X-5 was the world's first high-performance airplane to vary the sweepback of its wings in flight. It successfully demonstrated the advantage of a swing wing design for aircraft intended to fly at a wide range of speeds. Ryan's X-13 was built to prove that a jet could take off vertically, transition to horizontal flight, and return to vertical flight for landing. Even though it successfully proved the original concept, its design had limited operational potential, and a lack of funding shut down the program in 1958. In 1985, the Grumman X-29A became the world's first forward swept-wing aircraft to fly supersonically. This program explored cutting-edge aircraft design features, including forward swept wings, advanced materials, a forward-mounted elevator and a computerized flight control system. Lockheed's X-44A was a low-cost demonstrator that successfully tested multiple technologies leading to more sophisticated stealthy unmanned aircraft. Its design refined tailless aircraft aerodynamics and flight controls. Republic's turboprop-driven XF-84H was designed to combine the speed of jet aircraft with the long range, low fuel consumption and low landing speed of propeller-driven aircraft. Due to poor performance and high maintenance requirements, it never became operational. McDonnell Aircraft's XF-85 Goblin Parasite fighter was built to protect B-36 bombers flying far beyond the range of conventional escort fighters. The program ended in late 1949 when aerial refueling of conventional fighter aircraft showed greater promise. Convair's XF-92A was the world's first jet aircraft to fly with the delta wing configuration. This propulsion system proved impractical, and the program was cancelled, but Convair used the knowledge learned to design the delta wing F-102. Bell's XV-3 was the world's first successful vertical short takeoff and landing tilt-rotor aircraft. It did not go into production, but it paved the way for the modern tilt-rotor CV-22 Osprey. The tilt-wing Chance Vought LTV XC-142A was built in the 1960s to explore the suitability of vertical short takeoff and landing transports. Although it did not go into production, it foreshadowed future operational transports like the V-22 Osprey. North American's XB-70A was conceived in the 1950s as a high-altitude nuclear strike bomber that could fly at Mach 3, since any potential enemy would have been unable to defend against such a bomber. The advent of surface-to-air missiles and less costly nuclear-armed ICBMs caused the program's cancellation. The XH-20 was a test stand built to research ramjet-propelled helicopter rotor blades. While the XH-20 proved that a helicopter could use ramjet-propelled rotor blades, it was very loud and consumed fuel at a high rate. In 1951, at the request of the U.S. Army, the Air Force developed the XH-26, a one-man, pulse-jet-driven helicopter. Unfortunately, the pulse jets were so loud that the Army found the aircraft unsuitable, and cost considerations forced the cancellation of the program. Benson's X-25 gyrocopter theoretically could be stowed in an aircraft, ejected with the pilot and deployed during descent. Then the pilot would fly it to a safer landing area. With the air war in Vietnam winding down, and with doubts about its operational feasibility, the program ended. Lockheed's NT-33A was an in-flight simulator that could be programmed to simulate the flight of a completely different aircraft. It also had an artificial feel system that replicated the characteristics of the stick and rudder controls of the aircraft being simulated. Designed and built in great secrecy during World War II, the P-59 was America's first jet aircraft. Although it never saw combat, the Aerocomet provided training for Air Force personnel and invaluable data for the development of higher-performance jet airplanes. The original P-75 design incorporated the most powerful inline engine available and components from other aircraft to expedite production. Flight tests in late 1943 revealed unsatisfactory performance, and by the fall of 1944 the Army Air Force had capable escort, so it cancelled the order for 2,500 P-75As. The Army Air Force's quest to capture the world's speed record after World War II led to the creation of the specialized P-80R with a smaller canopy, redesigned air intakes and a shorter wing with an extended leading edge. It set a new world speed record of 623.753 miles per hour, returning the record to the United States after nearly 24 years. The British-built XV-6A Kestrel was a prototype vertical short takeoff and landing aircraft successfully tested in the 1960s. Although the Air Force did not order the improved version, the U.S. Marine Corps and RAF operated the follow-on Harrier for several decades. Lockheed's YF-12 was developed in the 1960s as a high-altitude, Mach 3 interceptor to defend against supersonic bombers. Though the aircraft performed well, the program ended in early 1968 due to high costs, the ongoing war in Southeast Asia and a lower priority on air defense. The Avro Canada VZ-9 Avro was the result of a Canadian effort to develop a supersonic, vertical takeoff and landing fighter bomber in the early 1950s. After tests showed that it was uncontrollable when flown above 3 feet off the ground and top speed was 35 miles per hour, the project was cancelled. Built in the early 1980s in great secrecy, the revolutionary Tacit Blue aircraft tested advanced radar sensors and new ideas in stealth technology. With its low, all-aspect radar signature, Tacit Blue demonstrated that such an aircraft could loiter over the battlefield without fear of being discovered by enemy radar. The YF-23A competed against the YF-22A in the Advanced Tactical Fighter program. In 1991, after extensive flight testing, the Air Force announced that the Lockheed YF-22A won the airframe competition, ending the program. In January 2008, this modified scaled composites Long Easy completed the first manned flight of an aircraft powered by a pulse detonation engine. Pulse detonation engines are much less complicated and promise to be less expensive to operate than jet engines and may become more common as the technology matures. Ryan's BQM-34 Fire B-2 was a supersonic target that trained air crews and to test new weapons systems. It was launched from the ground with a rocket booster or dropped from a modified C-130, with normal recovery by a specially equipped helicopter that hooked its 80-foot diameter parachute as it descended. North American's turbojet-powered X-10 successfully tested flight characteristics and guidance, navigation and control systems for the planned SM-64 Navajo. The Navajo program was cancelled as intercontinental ballistic missile technology matured. Fairchild's XSM-73 Bull Goose was a pilotless decoy missile designed to simulate the radar signatures of large bombers. If several ground-launched, intercontinental range SM-73 decoys saturated and confused enemy defenses, the real bombers had a better chance of getting through to their targets. Boeing's YQM-94A was a high-altitude, long-range, remotely piloted aircraft designed for long-endurance photographic reconnaissance and electronic surveillance missions. Piloted from the ground, it received guidance signals through a radio link while a television and other electronic equipment sent in-flight data back to the ground-based pilot. Beechcraft's MQM-107 Streaker was a remotely piloted vehicle used for testing and training Air Force interceptor crews. It could simulate the characteristics of different potential enemy targets, such as mimicking the heat and radar returns of different missiles and aircraft or dropping chaff and flares to deceive interceptor crews. Teledyne Ryan's XAQM-81A Firebolt was a high-altitude, high-speed aerial target that set 2 world records for unmanned sustained flight, reaching a speed of Mach 4.3 and an altitude of 103,000 feet. It performed well during testing but did not enter production because less expensive alternatives were available. Lockheed Martin's RQ-3 Darkstar was a highly advanced, stealthy reconnaissance remotely piloted aircraft designed for use in high-threat environments. It could take off, fly to the target area, operate its sensors, transmit its sensor imagery, return to base and land without human intervention. The program was cut because of cost and aerodynamic stability problems. In the mid-1990s, NASA and the Boeing Phantom Works built two unmanned quarter-scale X-36 tailless fighter agility research aircraft to develop technology for a maneuverable, tailless fighter. The flight test program met or exceeded all of the project's goals. Boeing's X-45A was a concept demonstrator that proved that highly autonomous uninhabited aircraft could attack opposing surface-to-air defenses. Tests verified the ability of two vehicles to work autonomously as a team and manage their resources, as well as to engage previously undetected targets, which is significantly harder than following a predetermined attack path. The XQ-58A Valkyrie is the first example of a new class of high-performance unmanned aircraft that can be rapidly built and used in large numbers, and will work in teams with manned aircraft. It is launched with rocket assist from a launcher transport trailer, and lands using parachutes and airbags to cushion its impact with the ground. Bell's XGAM-63 Rascal was an air-to-surface standoff supersonic guided nuclear weapon to be launched from Strategic Air Command bombers up to 100 miles away from the target. The program was cancelled in favor of the more reliable and longer-range Hound Dog missile. The AGM-131A2 was a short-range, self-guided nuclear weapon designed during the Cold War. It was cancelled before entering production as part of an arms control initiative and because of production problems with the missile's motor. I hope you enjoyed this tour of the Air Force Museum's Research and Development Gallery. If you would like to tour other galleries in this series, convenient links are listed in the description section below this video.